Yo, 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 what's going on in the hood, traders? Big news today. We had the FOMC out today, and for once, the market actually ramped post FOMC. So what we need to do is figure out today if this pop is real, what the heck old Uncle Jerome was even talking about, and what we can play next to capitalize on this. Are we getting towards some type of bottom, or is this just some type of dead cat bounce? We don't necessarily know yet, but let's just take a look. So old Uncle Jerome, did his normal thing, full effects of tightening, economy's expanded, we got a long way to go. And so he was kind of keeping it real chill for a little bit. But by the end of his talk, when people were asking him questions, there was a little hottie with glasses sitting in the front. You guys probably saw her. And they were asking questions. He finally came into it and he says, well, risks are getting closer to being in balance. And so, people read that as like, hey, maybe this thing is getting, towards the tail end of it. Now, we've been thinking it's towards the tail end of it for quite some time, but, that was the closest he's kind of come to saying it. And I thought the tell, so we were long, not during the actual talk, but as it started to wind down, I was telling the guys in the chat room, I think we need to get long this, because the thing was, when he was talking, he could not talk the market down, and so that's a tell. What I mean by that is usually when Jerome starts talking, the market tanks. He talks the market down and people start just shorting, selling, the algos kick in, all that kind of fun stuff. And he could not talk the market down at all. And so, we had a momentarily blip, and this always happens on FOMC day. You just pull it back into support, make it look like a short, and then they ramp it back into the close. That's like kind of your telltale FOMC thing. But the big tell was, while Uncle Jerome was blabbering on, he couldn't talk down the market. He couldn't get this thing to red roll. And if you can't red roll it, then you're probably going to get that end of day squeeze. And we've been setting up for a squeeze anyways. And so, that squeeze has been in the cards for quite some time. So there's a couple interesting things that happened, right? He waffled a little bit today, and then he finally said, hey, risks are in balance. And when you can't talk the market down, this is the stuff that happens. So I think that's really important. So is this the bottom in the market or anything like that? Frankly, we don't know. So we've rebounded the 9 EMA here. And I personally think till we can get back over and hold over the 50-day moving average and take out kind of this range, then the market's probably just in a epic, right, just kind of multi-month range. So we really need to kind of clear out of a couple things. If we look at the SPY, we've got a handful of things here too. We're making a start. But today's nice run just kind of took us into the 200-day moving average. So we need to thrust over that. If we get rejected by the 200-day moving average tomorrow, then it's all for nothing, right? And so we got to be careful. And we've seen this in the past where FOMC days, you get a big ramp and the next day it reverses, or you get a big dump and the next day it reverses. One day doesn't make a trend change. You need to follow through. But I will say, at least, we have what we call some green shoots. Now, I think the other thing to kind of be aware of, and I think this is important, is that market breadth has double bottomed here. The T2108, anytime it's under 20, it's indicating the market breadth is very low and very extreme. Typically, readings that break closer to 10 on the T2108 show longer term market bottoms that can last for months. We kind of hit it a little bit here, and then we popped up and we came back and double bottom, which is a little bit normal, but I think that's something to keep an eye on. One thing we haven't really noticed is a change in the number of breakouts versus breakdowns, which, we need to see an improvement on. We don't want this to be like the beginning of the year where it's like a 6-company market, right? It's like Meta, NVIDIA, they're leading the way and everything else is just, sitting sideways. So we do need to see a shift in market breadth to get this thing going. So these are just kind of things to, be mindful of. But I do think, like, if the market can hold, there are some interesting things that are leading the way, right? NVIDIA had earnings out today, made a big break over the 50-day moving average. I think that's really important. This thing was left for dead, broke under the 200-day moving average. I read the earnings. I didn't think that much of it. But when expectations are assuming that something's going to suck, something can unsuck very, very fast. So I think this is going to be probably a big tell, something that traders, especially day traders, should want to focus in on, And then we're starting to see some other kind of green shoots, right? Netflix, it had its earnings out, big gap, pull back into the 9 EMA. You're starting to take this out. If this thing takes out this range, right, you have confirmation of a new leg starting, which I think is going to be really important. Microsoft, it had its earnings out this particular day, then it took a big kerplunk, and now it's broken its earnings high, which is actually just a confirmation. And so now you're crossing out of this big base. So even though the market looks a little bit ganar, extra California, we have these kind of things peeking its head here. You got Microsoft, you got AMD, you got Netflix, you got a whole host of kind of things happening here that I think are important. And then, on the other side, like you saw probably after hours, like SMCI had a really, a decent sized pop. So like if something like this can hold and start to trend, this is like your telltale, right, speculative type of name. If these things can start to hold, I think you're going to be good to go. And we'll have ourselves, a little bit of cheese. In terms of, just kind of how to trade this stuff, my personal preference is still to trade like earnings plays and stuff like that. We were trading all sorts of stuff today. But, into the close today, like once post, so about 3 p.m., what we're starting to trade, like coming into, right, post FOMC, post Powell, I had some Tesla and NVIDIA that it did okay. I kind of sold out of some of this stuff a little bit early, but I do the options on this stuff, right? So if like NVIDIA goes 419 to 423, well, if you're doing some calls on that bad boy, I mean, that's like, I'm just hitting this breakout. So there's nothing crazy, right? Test. This is like your classic thing. I like to always be in a little bit early and just put a stop under the 9 versus get the confirmation. So like, even on something like in the video, like, I go in, I get the 420 kind of calls. So as it starts to take out this range here, you're coming in 5, like, it made an okay move, right? This is not like anything kind of bajonkers or anything, but, you're kind of getting in. I got a little bit earlier over here, 418.95. So kind of in this candle here. So you did an okay move, but I wouldn't say anything crazy. I personally don't think FOMC days are the days where you just go balls to the wall when the news comes out, because we see way too many shakeouts. But, I want to talk to you guys today just because there are these kind of green shoots that are happening in the market. We got to be careful tomorrow because we're up 4 days in a row. If we gap up a little bit, we may roll back a little bit just because of how many days up in a row you are. But we want to watch this level here, right? If we start coming out of this range on the QQQs, if you think about this, like this is kind of looks what AMD looks like, right? It's kind of a little bit of a wedge pattern, something along that end. So keep that in the back of your mind, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, you want to chat about anything. We've got the start of something. Maybe we do get a little turkey crack rally. We've got the start of it, and we're starting to see between AMD, Microsoft, right? Some things, Netflix, some things perk its pickle a little bit. So, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Peace.